Hello all, good evening and welcome on today's Speak on the P.O.N channel. My name is P.O.N. I had to be running the show a bit late today because of the tight schedule I had during the day. But all the same, we thank God we are here. And I looked through the papers, so far so good. There's the issue of the Rivers local government elections, which is becoming a very huge source of concern, but we'll keep that in the coolers. What actually got my attention the most today is the announcement of the daughter of AKWA State Governor as the acting First Lady, as it were, following the passing of her mom. Governor Enomo was said to have done that announcement when Nigeria's First Lady, Mrs. Remi Tinubu, paid him a condolence visit following the recent passing of his wife Helen. Well, let me start by extending my own condolences to His Excellency the Governor of AKWA State. I mean, losing a wife is not something any man should pray for. How much more when you are holding such an exalted office as the governor of a state? One can imagine the kind of support that the governor would have been getting from his wife, including the bedroom support. You know what it means when you have to go to bed and things are actually bothering you, official issues, and at times you have to discuss with your wife. And trust me, women, good women I mean, have a way of inspiring their husbands to act rationally when it matters the most. And I can imagine that he would have been enjoying that kind of a relationship with the wife, Helen. But unfortunately, death is inevitable for every one of us, and when it happens, it just has to come the way it is. So once again, my condolences to the governor of AKWA State, and indeed the good people of AKWA State. Having said that, let's now talk about the issue of the appointment of his daughter as the acting First Lady of AKWA State. Well, while he has a prerogative as a governor to say this is the person that I want to act as the First Lady of the state, we must also look at things from the perspective of our laws as Nigerians. And I believe the laws, particularly our constitution, is the grand norm of our nation. And whatever we do has to be in line with the constitution. There has been this argument over the years that the office of the First Lady, because it is not constitutional, it is not recognized by the law. As a matter of fact, it's not even an argument. It is a truism, because there is nowhere that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria recognizes the office of the First Lady. But because being the wife of the first man, either at the federal level being the president or at the state level being the governor, naturally there just exists a rule for the wife of such a leader, not by virtue of the constitution or by any laws, but perhaps by norm. And if we are to ride on that, we would say that, well, the women who are first ladies of the country, in the case of that of the president, and of the state, in the case of that of the governors, should continue to play their roles as first ladies, albeit informally, because it is not recognized by the law. And so I believe Nigerians never had issue with that. It was never a qualm at all, because we believe that one way or the other, there is no way it is affecting the running of the country. Rather, perhaps in some cases we have seen that the office of the First Lady has added value to governance, because some of these First Ladies use their I don't want to use the word office now, because that office in reality doesn't exist. They perhaps use their positions as the wives of the leaders to touch lives in their own way, either via their pet projects, foundations, or any other thing that they choose to do, just to be relevant as wives of the leaders. Having said that, to hear that a governor appoints his daughter as acting First Lady in the state calls for a serious concern, because you want to ask yourself, of what use, of what need is that office to the state, that just barely days after the First Lady of the state passed on, the governor has gone ahead to announce his daughter as the First Lady of the state. Let's even start with the fact that from the name there, it means that this woman in question is already married to somebody else to start with. In other words, she's not even a single woman. What am I driving at? What I'm driving at is that if she would be a First Lady at all, she would be a First Lady to her husband and not to her father anymore, at least from the point of view of our African customs and beliefs, which of course, one way or the other, are also entrenched in our African traditional laws. Number two, luckily for the governor, his deputy happens to be a woman. So if today your wife is no more, what stops the deputy governor acting the role of the First Lady? Because she is actually the deputy governor, and technically she is the First Lady of the state, particularly with the absence of the wife of the governor. So why does the governor have need to still appoint the daughter, saying she will continue from where the mother stopped and continue to work with the deputy governor and the commissioner for women affairs in the state? Would that not create some kind of bad blood in the system? I'm just asking. I'm not in Akwa Ibom State. I don't know the level of relationship between the deputy governor and the governor. So to cut the long story short, I believe very strongly that Akwa Ibom State governor can run that office without anything like First Lady attached to it. Let's take Benue State for example. The current governor of Benue State is a reverend father, is a priest of the Roman Catholic Church. And you know that Roman Catholic priests don't get married. Yet he emerged governor and has been running the office for over a year now without a First Lady. He is not the first. As a matter of fact, it seems Benue State is known for having reverend fathers as their governors. If you remember in the past, there had been a reverend father governor in Benue State. I think that was before George Akume came on board. I'm not too sure now. Reverend Father Dasu, I hope I got that name right. So if we've had reverend fathers who have been governors of a state and didn't have First Ladies, and there were no records of them not performing well as a result of not having First Ladies, I don't see why the governor of Akwa Ibom State must have to put his daughter there, whether in acting capacity as First Lady or as a substantive First Lady of the state. For me, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't hold any water, except of course as traditional with Nigerian politicians. He wants his daughter to also come close to the corridors of power. Be that as it may, could have given his daughter any other position, commissioner for women affairs, or any other position as it were, other than that of the first lady, because like I said, the first lady is not recognized by law, and to even use the word appoint even makes it an aberration. I wonder if our politicians actually understand what our laws are in the first place. You can only appoint somebody into an office that is recognized by the law, especially as a public office holder. And that is why on no occasion has any first lady been appointed into any office. They only become first ladies by virtue of their being married to the governors and the presidents. Nobody appointed them first lady. And so for me, I think it's an aberration for the governor to go ahead to appoint his daughter as the first lady, whether in acting capacity or in substantive capacity. Why is this an issue? This is an issue because over the years we've seen a situation where our public office holders don't seem to want to live by the books. Some of them think that they are emperors who can just make a statement and it becomes law without recourse to the laws of the land. That is why if you call Nigeria a banana republic, a lot of times you will not be far from the truth, because we see a situation where the laws are clearly there, but people in power, who in any case should be the custodians of the law, turn out to be the ones who actually abuse these laws. So Mr. Governor should look at his decision as far as this matter is concerned and probably rescind that appointment, rescind that decision to appoint his daughter as the first lady. Because whether your daughter is there as the first lady acting or not, that office is not affected in any way. I mean the office of the governor. If there are pet projects you want your daughter to carry on, there's no problem with that. She could do that, but not in the name of the first lady of Akwa Ibom State. And even if you have to make her first lady, you don't have to call that an appointment. It is not an appointment, and it will never be an appointment. So, Akwa Ibom people, it's in your hands. It's up to you to either accept your governor's daughter as your first lady or let her know that that action is an aberration because it is not in line with any known law in our country today.